Good morning, all of you. We have Dr. Subramanian Swamy with you because, as I told you, in COVID times, our diplomacy becomes even more important. We have a threat of China on our border, and our relationships with United States of America have gone through some turbulence, and under the Biden administration would be very different. Initially, they were not giving us a foreign aid, as they call it, for almost 10 days. That changed. What changed? Then the foreign minister Jaishankar went to a conference, and Dr. Swamy made a tweet which has gone viral on it. I will show you that also. But first, all of you joining for the first time every night at 10 p.m. on this English channel, I do a live. And sometimes on Saturday, Sundays, I call an eminent guest. Dr. Swamy has been on this channel before, and he is again here today and will answer your questions also. So, all of you joining for the first time, please subscribe and click the bell icon so that you get a notification as soon as we go live. Sir, first I will just share your tweet for a second, which you tweeted, and then I will come to the serious issues. Dr. Swamy had just tweeted yesterday, I learned that India's External Affairs Minister, Shri Jaishankar, dressed like a waiter and has been placed in quarantine in London and cannot return home yet. If not true, refute it, please. So, sir, what made you tweet this? And then we'll come to the serious issues.
This is not new. I did it once, not by name. I said that, during the freedom struggle, Gandhi had said that we cannot get slavery out of British slavery out of our mind unless we give up their clothes. And that is, he said, I don't ask for the whole country, but I do think that for members of the Congress party, they should not wear Western clothes because we are fighting to remove them. So that's why you will see entire Gandhian movement, freedom movement, all of them only wore either the kurta pajama or dhoti kurta and so on. And Patel, who was a great, solicitor, great lawyer, used to be the most westernized in the Gymkhana of Ahmedabad. But he, after coming under the influence of government, completely gave up that and wore nothing but dhoti kurta. So I'm saying we in the BJP are propagating Hindutva, getting rid of Western values in personal life, and this and that. And when we talk about indigenization, etc., why is it that the BJP people, and that too ministers, should not represent that ideology in their clothing also? And of course, we have to appreciate that Modi, after the initial, I think, 2-3 months, he never wore Western dress again, at least to my knowledge. I think this is something that we need to inculcate in our ministers, that you are representing the BJP. And the BJP is being singled out or is proud to be known as a party of Hindutva nationalism, and therefore that must reflect also in our clothing. Some things we can't get rid of. For example, today I'm speaking in English, but if I spoke in Hindi, then your South Indian audience will not be able to understand. So I am now speaking in English for that purpose. So these over a period of time, as more and more Hindi spreads, it will be possible for us to dispense with English in TV programs and so on. Even now, the channels that get the maximum public coverage is those which are in the local language, in particularly Hindi. So that is the background in which I said, and I don't think in international conferences, Indian ministers or people holding cabinet rank, like National Security Advisor now, they should go dressed like butlers. I mean, they really look like waiters. And I must conclude this by making one comment. Once, Mr. Chidambaram, who always used to wear Western clothes when he went abroad, in a Chicago, in a New York Waldorf Astoria, was mistaken for a waiter. Till the Indian embassy people had to come and rescue him and say to the Americans sitting on the table in the lobby coffee room, that he is a minister, not a waiter. So that is what I say.
All right, Dr. Swami. Now on to the serious, weighty issues. First, Dr. Swami, what is happening? Both India, China, but first I will take, or your choice, Dr. Swami. You want to first address what is happening with US or with China?
Well, let me start with US India relations and what is happening in US. See, the Americans are, in a sense, very partisan people. If you are with them, then everything about you is okay.
Oh, internet just went, I guess. This internet has become a issue. I think Dr. Swami's internet just went off. The light must have gone off because it suddenly went off. It was good connection. He will rejoin in a second. So just let me call up his. 1 second. 1 second. Give me a second. अनामिका में जल्दी जाओ वहां पे वो कनेक्शन टूट गया है जल्दी जाओ 1 second, it will rejoin. I think the either a button got pressed or it broke. So Dr. Swami's office person would be doing it. Anyways, oh, he's back.
Okay. Okay.
Sir, your camera is not on yet. Sir, your camera needs to, yeah. Perfect, sir. Perfect.
Okay, just 1 minute.
अनामिका भी यहीं रुक जाओ थोड़ा 10-15 मिनट ना भारी बैठो
So, okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Therefore, you see, today in the bank of most American Democratic politicians is a thing that Modi came to a rally in Houston, and in a very large gathering of Indians who are citizens of the United States, also who had voting rights. He said that the अगले बार Trump की सरकार, and they felt very agitated about it because it was not very far from the campaign. So then they become, I hate to use the word, but I have to use it, called a cowboy mentality comes, because then they say, then okay, we'll give it to him, sock it to him at the right time. Now, but on the other hand, India is a very important country, and India is a country which is democratic, and I must say the latest elections has enhanced it. They cannot, and it's such a big land mass, in the middle of Indian Ocean, that they can't get another country like this. So, and the Indians have actually performed so well in the IT field and in medicine and so on in the United States, and all the, high level advanced sciences subjects, Indians have done extremely well. And so that impression that these are, then there is a group which thinks India is an ancient civilization. There's this film actress who became a Hindu and comes to temples regularly in California. There's a overall admiration. But there is also a lot of lobbies. There may be Pakistani lobby, maybe some other lobbies, those Christian missionary lobbies. Oh, they are Christian missionary lobbies, especially don't like our government. So they are creating an atmosphere. So to chart your way with a good Indo-US relationship, you must know the American psyche, which is never ask for something without giving something, and never give something without taking something. If you give something and not take something, they think you're an idiot. And if you ask for something and give nothing, then they think they are a bloody rascal. So the question is, the Indians, if they want the American friendship, I mean, the admiration will be there. We both speak English, and all the elite, of course, speaks English and speaks to each other in English. We exchange research. All that is there. But when it comes to strategic issues, will India stand with the United States when the chips are down? That's the key thing. We have not stood with them when they wanted us to, enter Afghanistan and side by side with American troops fight the Taliban, and it was in our interest to do so. After all, the Taliban, if they take control of Afghanistan, they will join with Pakistan, because these are Pakistan patronized groups. Then you got the Chinese also now, and they will target you. So it was in our interest to go, but we didn't. At the same time, we want their weapons, and then we take weapons from the Russians, which means that those for servicing, you will have Russian agents come here. Since it has Chinese, the S-400, for example, has Chinese electronics, therefore the Chinese experts will have to be called here. And hence we are in a situation where the Americans say we can't give our most advanced weapons because the Chinese will copy it, whether it is justified worry or not. And so finally, we must define what we want from the Americans. We don't want to be America's cat's paw for China. No harm in saying that. But we must fight China. They have come and occupied your land, which was mutually agreed was our land by the 1993 agreement. And quietly during the UPA period, they came and occupied it. And then last year, they again started occupying. And we have not evicted them. We said, okay, we will have mutual withdrawal. So they said, okay, you start. And we withdrew that very portion which we had taken, especially in last June. And that was the Kailash range in Pangong Lake area. We withdrew from that. The Chinese are laughing. Without any quid pro quo, we withdrew to create an atmosphere. This is the words of Mr. Waiter. I mean, Jaishankar. You see, we create an atmosphere. What atmosphere created? They were not agreed. And today they have massed more troops in Ladakh. And there's going to be another attack. Are you ready for it? Who's going to come to your... Everybody will give you lip service. Very bad, we condemn it, it's too much. Nothing. So therefore, India has to make up its mind. You can't be friends with everybody because the world is divided by blocks. You have to either stay independent, which is an option in the long run, or you have to choose an ally who trusts you and is willing to commit for you. And that is United States today. The Russians are junior partners of China. It's a waste of time. This Russia is not USSR, Soviet Union. People think of, oh, Russia helped us, Russia helped us. Which Russia helped you? There was a communist government which was ruling vast areas of Europe, which are all become independent countries now. Ukraine was part of Soviet Union. So was Kazakhstan. So many other, Tashkent. All these were part of the then Soviet Union. Today, the Soviet Union is not there. So, and we know for a fact that Putin is a junior partner of Xi Jinping. And therefore, to have anything from the Russians, rely on the Russians, independent of the Chinese approval, is impossible. So you want to fight China, you have to, because this 1962 hangs over our head. The Americans can assist you with the most modern weapons. We don't need their troops. And therefore, we should go and by the way, I am not anti-Chinese in the traditional sense. I have a dispute. I can have a dispute with a sister or a brother and later on make up. So, but they have violated something. We had an agreement, you broke that agreement, you used whatever subterfuge you wanted.
and you occupied 3,000 square kilometers of our territory. We have to evict them so that the 1962 image goes for forever. All the logistics are in our favor. The Chinese have to come in a long supply line. Therefore, my advice today is go out of your way to befriend the Chinese Americans. Americans just want only one thing. If you want something from them, you give them something and negotiate on that basis. I did it for a brief while when I was minister in Chandrasekhar's government. We had no money. The IMF said, we will not give you any money unless you change your system, you'll do this, you'll do that, and all kinds of conditions. And Chandrasekhar said, ye to main nahi maan sakta. Then where are you going to get that money? Because VP Singh had completely squandered the entire foreign exchange thing, and we were about to default. So that time when the Americans came to us and Chandrasekhar sent the ambassador to me, they wanted us to allow their planes coming from Philippines to refuel in India and then go to Saudi Arabia to fight Saddam Hussein in Kuwait. And in the beginning, all of our socialists in our gang in the government said, no, we can't do that. This is a violation of our this thing, etc. Blah blah. Rajiv Gandhi, I asked him. He said, no, this is all against our policies of non-alignment. This thing, but because of you, I'll not raise any objection. I'll just keep quiet that I supported it. So we agreed, and the Americans went to bat for us. They got us $2 billion in within 1 weekend, without conditions. That's the American power. So utilize that. Go out of your way.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm back. Yes. So this is the approach to America. Give and take. And be frank. Be upfront. Don't. The Americans like frankness.
Dr. Swamy, your initial comment has raised a lot of questions, but I will start from the first thing you said. For those asking, when Prime Minister Modi did Howdy Trump, that is like supposing Obama had come in 2013 and said, "Ab ki baar Congress Sarkar," and then PM came into power. So some of them, it is akin to that, and we don't like foreign media even commenting an article in India today, right? We don't like it when New York Times is saying certain things about India, but that was almost the same as Obama coming to India in 2013 and saying Manmohan Singh is my friend from Harvard or my senior from Harvard or Oxford or someplace. You should vote him back. It's almost like saying the same thing, which Indians did, and with a nation which is frankly a very powerful nation. So do you think that is something which is even if it's an error, that can be rectified now, or you think that is permanent damage? One question. And second, Dr. Swamy, as you gave an example of negotiation and we need to negotiate better. So what are towards constructive things, those sort of negotiations we can give or get with US that the relationship becomes better? Subject to, there is a lot of thought which says that Democrats are very friendly with China and India really can't rely on them at all.
I would say that the Democrats are very friendly with China. They are as friendly as I am, in the sense they don't want a long-term conflict with them. But they are determined to tell China this far and no more, which is what I also. You can't cross the borders and come and take our territory. For that, we'll do whatever you have. But otherwise, I am in favor of good relations with China. They are our neighbors. They are a large population. We have a very historic cultural relations with them. What you said is this the only thing that we said about Obama? Is there anything else holding? See, the Democratic Party is a coalition of many groups. And for example, there's now a congresswoman who is of Indian origin. I forgot her name. And Jaishankar went there, and he was, before her she stood. She was a congresswoman, and he refused to shake hands when she stuck her hand out. He didn't even do a namaste. He just didn't want to recognize her. And that's not done. And he, particularly having spent his whole life in diplomacy, God knows what went into his head. Did he have instructions on that? I don't know. So, small slight, but it means that you have alienated all the liberal crowd, which is quite powerful, by the way. When I had a 50-year connection with Harvard, and the liberals, provoked by Mrs. Sonia Gandhi, who gave them money also, who are India experts, people like Samartya Sen and that Sogotov Bose, who all these rascals, they came together, and because Sonia Gandhi wanted me out of Harvard, so they couldn't get me out of Harvard because that would require a faculty vote. So what they did was a sneaky thing. They went to a meeting of the catalog committee where the form of the catalog and the shape of the catalog, nobody goes to that. And without any advance, they got together. Still, they could not get unanimity. The Department of Economics protested, said he is the only one who can teach two courses at the same time. Otherwise, you'll have to have two professors, one for China, India economy, and the second is mathematical economics. And in the summer, who's going to be ready from the normal faculty? We have to get old Harvard faculty back. But they went ahead and they passed it. And of course, informally, the dean and all these people have said yes behind your back, because they didn't even ask me to come and explain over an issue where I had written a book on deterrence, and I said Muslims are genetically, according to DNA, they have their own, their DNA is the same as the Hindus. So the Muslims should acknowledge that my ancestors are Hindus, they will all become one family. What is wrong with that? You see? So therefore, and it's not a suggestion. They took that sentence out and he said, this is, Nazi Germany, all that. And behind my back, they passed a resolution. What is the resolution? That this year he cannot be invited. If you are not going to invite me this year, I'm not going to come any year, because it was at the urging of Harvard faculty, which I used to come every year. Imagine leaving 3 months Indian politics and going there. So I am coming back to this main point, that Americans, liberals, they are a minority, but they live in a concentrated way. They can do you a lot of harm. And today, the Muslim community, which has formed associations there, the Pakistani financed ones, and other left-wing groups, all have combined. This BJP government should be removed. So therefore, you have that block. So you want to negotiate, you have to have very articulate people going, not all the time worrying, what is Modi's instruction, what is Modi's instruction. And it should not be bureaucrats. Doval and Jaishankar are no match for American negotiators. You need politicians who are well rooted, in the BJP, who have a standing in the BJP. They must go, and there are many. I can name them all the time, and if I name names, poor chap, they get into trouble. I just said Nitin Gadkari should be chairman of COVID, so because Prime Minister is overloaded, let him decentralize this, delegate this, and poor Nitin Gadkari is getting help from some people and Twitter crowd and all that, blasting him left, right, and center. So therefore. And he's not as thick.
Many were supporting him also, sir, that he should be heading a group of ministers.
Majority is supporting, overwhelming majority is supporting. But
Oops, it's again broke. For those wanting to know, Dr. Swamy suggested a group of ministers because it requires interdisciplinary coordination. A group of ministers can be formed, headed by Nitin Gadkari ji, so that we can have effective and faster COVID relief. हिंदी में दूसरा चैनल है सरबमीत सिंह, आप जो हिंदी का पूछ रहे हैं, मुझे 1 सेकंड दोबारा कॉल करने दो, सर दोबारा जुड़ जाएंगे, तो वो उसकी बात कर रहे हैं. 1 सेकंड. एक सेकेंड, अनामिका दोबारा जोड़ो टू. So, anyways, you can ask your questions. I will take your questions. This is the right time. Swamiji, don't you think India should override vaccine patent, especially for Swadeshi Covaxin? Okay. Okay. How to get our Prime Minister to?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So there is this block. Be careful. Democratic Party is not like Republic. It's a party which is a conglomerate, and some of them are yet not been active. For example, Bernie Sanders. He's not formally a member of Bharat, but he has enormous influence in the left wing.
Yeah.
So, and then Kamala Harris has never been very sympathetic to BJP and all this Hindutva stuff. And of course, Pramila, whatever, she's now is a scorned woman, and scorned women are more dangerous than all the asuras put together. So from Kali's example, you better be careful. So therefore, we need people who can speak to them in a language which the Americans understand, and we need people who can give and take intelligently, and Modi should find them with whom he is comfortable. He may not be very comfortable. I don't know what people feed Modi. They usually tell him that this man has ambitions to replace you and so on. And they create bad feelings. There's a whole lot of riff-raffs who live, get a huge amount of money from the party or some cell of the party. So I think it's a very sensitive thing. Otherwise, as of today, if the Chinese attack you, the Americans will only give you lip service. They are not going to give you the most modern weapon, the F-35, because you haven't evicted the Chinese from India. They are still in electronics. This whole IPL was done by the Chinese only.
Swami, Swami, I'll come to the China question with just one last question on US. And then, because if people don't know, Dr. Swamy was the first and the harshest advocate of taking action on China if they step an inch into your territory. You can go and see his tweets. He was the first one to take such a hard stand that you need to do this. And later, what he said came true, and we had those fights or skirmishes at the border. Dr. Swamy, one last question on the US situation. There is a lot of anger in India. In the 7-10 days, US refused to send out raw materials or help in the COVID situation. That's a very big signal, because US normally believes in this, especially Democratic Party. They take this angle of human rights, and that we are doing human rights. So we are going to help any country in the world which is facing a epidemic or a disaster. So what happened that US for 10 days refused to supply raw materials, and that was a very different from US's normal practice when a nation is in epidemic, and they have lot of extra vaccines. One warehouse, they say, can vaccine a country in Africa, and they are not using that vaccine. So what happened that it took such a long time, and you said, okay, now that's the last question, dealing with COVID, and then we go to China.
Well, you see, the thing is, that was the ideological response which I was mentioning to you, this conglomerate. These Indians, they are with Trump, at least Modi is, and why should we strengthen Modi? But the reports went out from here, from the embassy and a number of other sources, that you are alienating the Indian public, because the Indian public doesn't look at the fineness of the diplomacy and give and take and all that. Now we are all struggling at this time. To have taken this stand is wrong. So he reversed himself. No question about, not because of Modi's persuasiveness, because he hasn't had any conversation worth the name with Modi. And no Indian representative has met Biden. So therefore, they have done it because the assessment given to him is that he is likely to lose the Indian public in a big way. and so therefore they reversed it.
And
But
also the
they have
Arab.
reversed it largely. No, at the moment it is still largely verbal. It
Okay.
has to be concretized. You see, in India, the lobbies work. Say, for instance, if I had not been in the health standing committee, this Covaxin would never have been approved. This entire gang of foreigners, including now you see what's happened to Bill Gates. He's turned against us. Why? Because Modi is now extremely unpopular in the West. For whatever reason, right or wrong, Modi is extremely unpopular in the West. And or the Western media is going hammer and tongs against him. I had to, they are using every critic in India to see if they can project their views. But I am wise enough to avoid all of them. But the
Yeah.
fact is that they are against him. But the fact is that the Americans have know that we had an opportunity to become self-reliant. We overshot it when the thing when the COVID-19 became controllable by last December. Our Modi gave a speech to the World Economic Forum that this is something he has conquered all by himself, and he is willing to be of service to other countries on how to do it. And then suddenly the whole thing, explodes, and so we are looking pretty bad. So I think you must understand that the Americans are subject to very rational arguments, but they don't like lecturing to them, and they don't like that you take a little bit here and a little bit there. You want it from the Russians, you want it from the Chinese. We have invited Xi Jinping to India for that conference of BRICS in November. Issued it.
Oh, it's frozen. 1 second, sir. Yeah, it's okay now. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Doctor, we will now head towards China, Dr. Swamy. And those of you joining for the first time, please subscribe and press the bell icon. I started this month on the English channel, and we have already become 30,000 strong. And this English channel has deep, in-depth discussions in English. Dr. Swamy, yesterday General G.D. Bakshi was here. He said something similar to what you are saying, but we could not have a long conversation because of internet issues, and I've rescheduled it. And he said that China has moved fresh troops to the border.
I've already tweeted that.
You have also tweeted that. Oh, you tweeted. And General Bakshi also said the same thing, that China has moved fresh troops to the border and mechanized divisions and in massive numbers. And that is a very dangerous sign, because you need to move fresh troops only when you have some mischief in mind. And in Indian circles or media is not covering it, because we think everything is okay and everything is hunky-dory, like we thought about COVID till as they say, the sky opened up. And General Bakshi is saying the same thing. You are saying the same thing, that they have moved new troops. So what is this new challenge? Since you have been one of the harshest people on, even though you have long experience of China, but you have been one of the harshest people on China. So what is this new thing and the new troops being moved to the border?
Well, first of all, I'll amend a little what General Bakshi said about Chinese amassing troops on the border. They are not amassing troops on the border, they are amassing troops within Indian territory. They've got the whole of Depsang, and they got cantonments built there. And it's just next to Karakoram Pras and Aksai Chin. So all you do is they come in and they are stationed there. They have got the southern part of Chushul and all, they are very well placed, already inside. So the only question today is, what was their aim in doing this? The aim is that sometime at the end of this month, but more likely by middle of June, they will have another attack, because they think now that we are extremely weak and that we have alienated everybody in town. The Americans will give lip service, The Russians are junior partners, so they won't do a damn thing except give us a lecture and offer to mediate, for which Mr. Jaishankar will go rushing off to Moscow, or Mr. Doval will go rushing off to Moscow. But nothing will come except a further amendment of the status quo. They'll take more territory. They know that this is situation. Now, the real question is, why is the Prime Minister not yet named China as an aggressor? You should have made a statement that China has aggressed on our territory, and they may have done it starting with the UPA, and of course Depsang was all done during UPA, but that's no go. But then there are people who ask that the 18 meetings you had with Xi Jinping, why didn't you speak up then to Xi Jinping that I will not take the next meeting unless you explain to me what are you doing in our territory? Whether it was during UPA period or our period doesn't matter. So I feel the Chinese have assessed us. There's something which is holding us back. It is not our capability. By the way, I will say this to the credit of Rajnath, whether he had clearance or not, I don't know, but he has ensured that the force presence in Ladakh is now substantial. So there will be a bloody war if there is a war. There are a lot of casualties. There may be 3 times the casualties of in China side than ours, but we are a democracy. For us, every soldier counts. For Chinese, they won't count. So why did we allow this situation to come, and what is the way to do it? Well, if the only way, in my opinion, is to fight them, which means a lot of casualties, but the whole world will have some respect for you. At the moment, the whole world knows how you are buckled. You even to the extent of saying that there are no Chinese have come, no one has gone from here. Koi aaya nahi, koi gaya nahi. So we seem to be taking it non-seriously. Then you have invited the Chinese to come on BRICS, Xi Jinping to come to India for the BRICS meeting, and we are allowed so many of the Chinese companies to continue. Even in the IPL, we allowed their electronics committee, electronic company to do it. So we don't have a China policy. The Prime Minister should call some people who are politically savvy. He need not call me, I don't want, because everything I've said is in my writing. You can read my book, Himalayan Challenge. But he should call some people who are clued in, who are not afraid to speak him on his face that this is wrong what you're doing, this is the correct thing you're doing. Maybe he should call Bakshi and ask him. You know, he's a general after all. There's General VK Singh. I don't think he has been consulted at all. He's busy doing roads and that sort of thing. So therefore, we don't have a China policy. We don't understand the Chinese. We need to now make a decision. Are you going to respect the sovereignty of India? In which case you are willing to do anything and everything. And let not Corona be an excuse, because I know many things that have happened during the war which have actually rescued them out of a situation. What happened in the United States? They had a huge depression. They couldn't fix it in the whole of the 1930s. World War II came, everything changed. Because the demand factor which was lacking, war gave that the demand factor. So I don't believe that war is a thing that we cannot manage within the present economic situation. One line China policy is give them as hard as they give you, if not double of what they give you. That is policy. Long-term policy is that China will respect you then, and then they will start talking to you.
That is also your Twitter policy. Give as hard as you get, if not double. But Dr. Swamy, this 18 meetings, and still we had last year in the first COVID wave, and now in the second COVID wave, the experts are saying that they are amassing and are up to more mischief. Do you think this can be resolved diplomatically, or what is the reason that they have become so aggressive on the government? Or you think we have to
They
prepare
become
for?
very confident that Modi will do nothing. Whether it's right or wrong, it's another matter. Second, what is the use of talking? They make fun of you. What did they say last time? The last meeting, what did they say? Be happy with what you have got. And let's not go on discussing forever. Be happy with what you have got. Please read that text. I'm sure it was suppressed to a great extent, but I am 100% certain somewhere it's come out. I've certainly brought it out in my tweets. I've retweeted it, tweeted it so many times. So please wake up. The Chinese, just have fun when they have talks with you. They love your running around saying sir and sir. And this is the way, this is the alternative way. There are nuances and so on and so forth. They just laugh. I know what the Chinese press, internal press in Chinese, you don't really see it in their English editions. And in the Chinese, what contempt they have for India. One, of course, the Chinese people themselves got them to withdraw. And that is two pictures side by side. One picture showing their rockets taking off, and the other one with a ball of fire in it. And the other one is a series of ball of fire where people are getting cremated. They say today is China and today is India.
So that level of propaganda is going on in Chinese newspaper propaganda, where they prepare for their citizens for taking action on India, sir, you think?
Their citizens are fired up by nationalism because they know no other way to express themselves. Highly nationalistic people. And they want India to be bashed. They're, wanting friendship and all, particularly with this government. Now, if you meet 18 times and you're still not able to raise this question that you have occupied Depsang, it speaks something. Never pretend with the Chinese that everything is okay. Always, having negotiated with them, I negotiated and got done something which Morarji took a bet with me that never in their lifetime they'll agree, and that is to open the Kailash Mansarovar route. And to the credit of the Chinese, even today they have not closed it. So there is an assessment they do. That's what Sun Tzu says. You assess your enemy first. And then if he thinks that the enemy wants to get a good name, so they will do these small things. They laugh at our newspaper headlines. I've seen that in their Chinese edition newspapers. They laugh at our newspapers. India has forced China to walk back. Walk back from what? From Pangong Lake to further in the Pangong Lake. But that is all Chinese territory. They are walking back in their own territory. We walked out of Kailash range mountains near Pangong Lake. So this is the thing, this perception, all the time thinking that we should keep the people and then attack me because I am telling the truth. I mean, I've never seen this kind of thing in Indian politics for a long time. What is the truth? That people must know. And the Chinese enjoy it when they see we are putting out, we have won, we are now, like Bhutan. Everything the Chinese wanted in Bhutan, they have already got it with the permission of the Bhutanese government. Because they think that Indians are just, ad hoc. They'll come one day and then they go back the next day.
Yeah, sir. Even
as Nepal stood with you, you drove the Sri Lankans to the Chinese. Has Bangladesh really been frank to you about their close collaboration with China? So even in Maldives now we find our most pro-Indian person, the Speaker of the House, Nasheed, they nearly killed him, the Islamic militants.
Dr. Swamy, and that is, as you said, a big problem, because if a common citizen doesn't know the truth, media, if it does not cover the truth, a person cannot know. International media, we would say, has an agenda, and they very often do. So what is generally what they do mixes with this. But people should read what scholars and think tanks are saying about what is happening in Bhutan. I was reading scholars in universities, think tanks in their internal papers, which are not something they are publicizing in the newspapers to attack anybody. They are openly saying Bhutan has gone completely to China, and we have missed the trick there completely. So those are very serious issues, Dr. Swamy. Dr. Swamy, one last thing before you go. So, what today, with our COVID crisis, with our economic crisis, which is likely to come after COVID because our economy will contract, it has already in the first wave. So, what are the option? What, or if not the option, what should we be doing in immediate terms for our national security vis-a-vis China? The last question.
See, nothing can be done unless the Prime Minister is willing. That is the structure we have allowed him to build. Nobody in the cabinet is going to stand up against him or say, no, this is the way, alternative way of doing it. So, if there is a change in the Prime Minister's mood to start delegating, that delegation must include empowering of that delegation. You can't say, Acha, you prepare the position paper and come to me, and I will decide, like he does with all the files that come from ministers. So he has to delegate, and he has to get political people, because you must know what is proposed is going to be acceptable to the people. You can't have bureaucrats and IB agents, former IB agents and all coming and telling you what policy should be. They can't. If they can't even know that you should dress like a Bharatiya when you're going abroad to represent India, then what can they tell the Prime Minister except what he wants to hear? And this has happened in history many times. I would say I was, very well, knowing me, that how actively I fought to see that Modi is projected as the Prime Minister of India, making so many of my colleagues unhappy about it. And I know that the first thing he did was, just shaft me out. I didn't mind because I had other things to do. After great effort and almost a determination of the RSS, I came in. But once I come in, all I get is these PMOs, fake ID guys hammering away. Of course, I enjoy tweeting it, not retweeting it, but deleting it, blocking it. Get a lot of pressure in the morning. My exercise starts blocking them. So, and of course, we got our VHS IT cell, which is hammering them day and night. So, but they get money, so they bear all this. So I'm saying this is the problem. How does anyone come tell the American, Modi, you are not, in my opinion, knowledgeable about China, even if you have been there 18 times or had 18 meetings. You don't know economics because you make bloomers like A plus B whole square. Where does 2AB come from? Or $5 trillion doubling. So he says technical subject, like Swamy doesn't know anything about zoology. You don't know anything about economics. People accept that. Chandrasekhar used to say that to me. I don't know how we are going to get foreign exchange from abroad. You do it. But mujhe nahi pata kya karna hai. Or Moraji used to do the same thing. Narasimha Rao, he told me, give me a blueprint, give me a blueprint. And he implemented it. Everybody can't know everything, you see. So therefore, you are asking me what India should do. It is only going to be theoretical. India must make Modi understand that he has to change his ways. Only then something can be done. Otherwise, we have to learn the hard way.
All right, Dr. Swamy, thank you for almost an hour of your time and for giving us a very important perspective on US as well as China. And all of you joining for the first time, please do subscribe, and I will try to request Dr. Swamy on the next weekend or the next weekend after that to come and speak on some other very important topic. Thank you, Dr. Swamy.